Hey everyone, welcome back. My name is Levi. It is January 13th. It is Tuesday, which is my favorite day of the week because we get to talk about options, we get to talk about investing, we get to talk about trading in general. Remember, everything we talk about here is not financial advice in any way, shape, or form. It's just what I'm looking at, what I'm doing. I see there's a couple people online. I would love it if you guys leave me a like. Let me know what stocks you're looking at, or at least say hi and tell me where you're watching from. Right there in the YouTube chat is the best place to do it. We're gonna get right into things because I don't like to mess around here. I wanna talk about trading. That's what we're here for. So let's jump into what is going on in the market, and we'll take a look and see what is happening. So I've got the SPX. Oh no, I don't. That's Boyd Gaming. Let's get SPX up here on the screen. We've got SPX trading well at the top of its line. We have a recent trend line that I've drawn on here. That's that solid blue line. I'm going to change that right now because every time we talk about this, it's like that's the wrong color. Red line. Let's look at that red line. Before, this red line was showing a support level. So when we were touching this line, we saw a couple times where it was supported. Once we broke through that, we got a long signal on SPX. It came up and now it's using that same trend line as a resistance line. So we are very much trading just underneath that. You know, this is we're in a bullish uptrend. VWAP is down here. Point of control is very close. We've had lots of volume recently at these levels. So when we look at the point of control, you're going to see that is where we're trading. We're trading in this very slim area at all-time highs. So should we be considering that the stock market can go up? Of course, you know, we have to consider that it can. Does it mean that it's going to? For sure, absolutely not. We may see that this continues to break up to the outside, or we might start to see this trend turn a little bit, and we might see a little bit further momentum towards the point of control, which is currently lower than about 100 points lower. That's where the recent point of control is. We have an area down here right around that 6,500 level, and if we do break through these levels, like if we break past these, we're going to definitely move into this range just below 6,500. There'll definitely be some support here around that 6,500, but it is very possible for us to go down. So when I'm building out trades in a market like this, what I'm doing is I am looking for profit targeting in areas like this, and I actually don't care so much about looking at where we might be trading above. You know, if we go up, that's fine. My long stock portfolios do fine. You know, I have index funds that I hold, and those are doing great as this market goes up. That is a very passive investing. But for my options trading, what I want to do is I want to focus on these areas on the downside. So that's some of the things that I like to do. Now, looking at NQ, we're going to see the exact same thing, and it's amazing how drew these purple lines on here last week, and how it is just continuing to wedge itself into this tiny little crevice of this flag. So this bottom trend line was drawn across the very bottom wick of these candles. Now we could draw it slightly differently, I guess. We could draw it off the bottom of the body of the candles, but we would end up with a very similar trend line. And then what we're looking for is we're looking for a break to one side out of this little triangle as this price action becomes bigger, and then it's slowly compressing down. And the question becomes, are we going to break up or are we going to break down? But we've got a lot of volume right at this level where we're trading just above. And again, long accounts are great, you know, to make that money to the upside. My focus for option trading is always in this range below. So that's one of the things that you'll see me do is I will look at these levels and say, where can I make some money if the market breaks down to the downside? So Russell, interesting, I've got this little signal on here that we see, you know, a long indicator on here, this little metric, and there's the short sell. So we saw that. This is the daily candles. This was yesterday. And again, similarly to what I was talking about, when we're up above these lines, when we're near the top of the channel, I'm targeting below. If we went back and looked at previous streams, you would see that I can make some money to the downside when these markets move down. We have this full sell here, which is interesting. So it doesn't necessarily mean it's not going to go up. So it is just an indicator. We have to look at the major market mechanics. If we had followed the previous indicators, you know, there's a small move there, not nearly as big as what it actually made, but then it went long here. This is the type of indicator where you're not in the market at all times, and we can play with direction a little bit. When we get a short signal here or a closing entry, what this does is it tells me that I might need to lighten my directional assumption on IWM. So if I had a directional assumption before, which I rarely do have full directional assumption to one side, now I'm really looking at it and saying, okay, how do I target this area? That is the area that's important for me at this point in time. Okay, VIX, looking at 1605, we're having a slight elevation in VIX. And, you know, all things being equal here, you can see the indicator when it told us to go long on VIX was profitable. It also was profitable here. We had long and short. So these indicators, the reason I keep it on here is because it can work extremely well. Okay, let's look at US oil. Let's look, sorry, flipping around here, pushing buttons. Let's look at US oil, and we got a signal to sell today. So was it a win? This actually wasn't. The long signal here was basically flat. But interesting, like had you been in it, we've been talking for a little while about like the potential of oil going up. Interesting that we're hitting that sell signal today. So I've talked about this the last couple of weeks. We're just in a bit of a weird place, and I don't want to play oil futures right this minute. I know lots of people just trade all the time. I'm often just looking for opportunity, and I just didn't feel like the setup was quite right. Even though we talked about it, and I could have definitely made some money because my directional assumption was to the upside when we were below that $60 level. Gold, I'm not playing this either. The move is just so big. So I'm just lightening up my position. Silver made quite a bit of money on this, continue to just push higher. It's wild, the parabolic arc that we're seeing on that. Like that is the definition of parabolic. Let's look at Apple. We're down at we're seeing a little bit of consolidation after hitting this lower Bollinger Band. VWAP is way down here at 232. Definitely showing some weakness in some of the Magnificent Seven in general. We've got TDT. It's down in the bottom part of its range. We're looking for a correction in that to the upside. AMD moved up today. A nice little move. We have a long signal. It was a buy at 232. I'm playing this neutral to basically neutral. I don't care where AMD goes. You know, like if AMD stays in a range like this, I'll be perfectly happy. That's kind of about where I'm looking at it. ARK-K moving up today. I'm starting to put in some slightly short delta positions in ARK-K. I feel like we're going to see a pullback into the 70s, so I'm looking to add to those. Adobe, surprise move today to the downside. We'll see if it recovers. I have a limited loss trade on. My traders know this is actually a losing trade for me. We had a long signal entry here. When I say that this is a losing trade, there is still time left in the trade. There's always a time where we can potentially recover. So the reason that I play stocks like Adobe with limited loss trades, which this one was in particular was a butterfly, is because the move can be extreme. I didn't expect Adobe to trade under 320. That was kind of the level that I was looking at. And now you can see it's actually trading at 308. So it blew through my expectation. Now, as traders, preservation of capital is super important. So we can do that in two ways. We can either purchase puts to limit our downside, or we can put in stop losses if we're long stock. So if there's a move. Now, stop losses don't always work all that well because there's a gap potential. So if a stock moves in overnight trading, we might jump over our stop. With options, it is a much more clearly defined stop. It's like we purchase those options, we pay for them, we have it in position. I have those positions in on like my Apple trades right now. I don't care that Apple's going down, even though I am a long stock shareholder. I am not losing any money because of my married puts. This is an important part of trading, and it's very, very important when we're building out an overall portfolio. So if you're not sure about that kind of thing, ask those questions. How do we set up a married put? How do we do these things? Then we can take a look at those. I'm going to ask you guys something too. For those of you who are on the call, I see there's 7 people, and thanks for the likes. I appreciate it very much. One of the things that I struggle with as a creator is getting more engagement on these channels. You know, like, and I ask you guys to say hi. I would love for you to say hi if you're logged into YouTube. That would be fantastic. But it would be amazing if you could actually share my content with other people. I'm in Facebook groups, and almost everyone, as you guys know, and I totally get it. It's like, when we're in a Facebook group, we're in to interact with the community. That's what we're supposed to do. And then we always have to say, well, we're not going to promote our stuff. So I see it constantly. I see people saying, oh, I want to like learn more. I'm here for the community. I want to do this. And as a creator, I'm creating content that allows people to come in, ask questions at a low level, high level, whichever you like. I've been doing this for a long time. I feel like I have a fairly good understanding about it. I like to think that I can break these concepts down into manageable bite-sized pieces, and I'm excited to share my knowledge. But it is actually against the rules of almost every Facebook group that I'm in, or Instagram, or whatever Discord server we're in, to actually be able to promote ourselves. It's kind of funny. It's like, well, I can't actually promote me. So hey, Frank, good to see you. So that being said, you know, if you guys were thinking about like how, and I hear it all the time, people are like, I don't know why your channel doesn't have any more or have as many followers, and part of it is because I just have a hard time promoting it. So if you guys aren't already in the Discord chat, I'm going to drop a link right in here. You can join the Discord chat for free. You can become a member there. You can see some of the results, and you can see quite a bit of resources that I have. But one of the things I'd love for you to do is to share my content. If you have a particular video of mine that you've watched that you think is great, could you please just do me a favor next time you're on your social media app and just share it to one of the groups that we're in? That would be fantastic, just to try to get some organic engagement out of the content that I have. I've got great videos. If you haven't checked out, like the Black Swan Hedge video, I think is excellent. The zero loss trading video is also excellent. Just do a little search on those, and if you could do me a favor, that would be amazing. So I appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for any sharing that you can do. I very much appreciate it. Now let's get into some questions. If you have any particular stocks, I'm going to continue down my little list that I have. We're going to look at a few things, and then I would love to get to some questions. We'll open up a brokerage. We'll do some analysis on that. We'll use Seeking Alpha. We can use investing.com. We can do the nice thing about doing these with you is that I get to do the research alongside of you. What stocks are you looking at? Do you want to go long, short? Are you not sure? That's fine too. You can just put out a stock. I will just take a look and I can do my own analysis. And then you get to learn about how my brain works as an options trader and how I go through looking at these things day over day. Okay, so let's get into that. Drop that in the chat and let me know. Amazon, as my patrons know, as my members of my Drawbridge Traders Club, I got to remember to say that. I was putting in a bearish trade up here once we got to these levels. I was like, I don't think Amazon's gonna pay out all that much to the upside. And today I got that nice bearish candle. So we'll see what's happening, but my expectation is Amazon's going to come back down to this point of control, and I'm already profitable on that trade, but I'm going to be even more profitable, which is going to be great. You know, that's what we're looking for. Baidu, same sort of thing. Even though these trades are the trading that is currently happening is up here, these are still below my break even, which means that I'm profitable whether or not the stock stays in this region or goes down anywhere here. And that's really it is a fantastic place to be when we can get into a position where we're saying, well, we can make money off of any sort of direction. Similarly to Chewy, I've got a position on. I make money if it stays here, and I make money if it goes anywhere up here. That's the power of of being able to put on complex positions. And if you're interested in any of these stocks, again, just to type in the comments, just let me know what stock you want me to look at, and I will show you exactly how I set up a trade if I was to take one today based on your assumption. I use a bunch of little indicators here and there. We can see on CMG there's an indicator from a long to a short here would have been profitable. We're definitely in an uptrend here. This is quite good. This is a bullish uptrend on CMG. I believe we're slightly overvalued on CMG at the moment. VWAP is up here, and this is where, being an options trader, I can basically say I want to make money in this range. It's pretty fantastic. Costco, there was a long entry back here and then basically flat exit on Costco. That did not trigger all that well in this particular case. PayPal, sorry, I meant PayPal. Hey, sir, thoughts on PayPal? Yeah, yes, that is PayPal is the name of that. We'll go down to the bottom of the list and we'll take a look at that. Conoco, we're seeing this. I've got a neutral play. Making money between $90 and making the most money between $90 and $97. No upside risk on this trade that I have on. So that's my zone. What do you think? Like, is that a good way to trade? I think so. When I look at this, and I always explain to people, like, I'm a range trader. I am looking for Conoco to play in this range this week. So this is until January 14th. And this is my max profit zone. So we're playing into it, and I adjust those every week, and it's pretty great. It's a pretty great way to trade. Coinbase, are we seeing enough action out of this? We're up 3% today. This has been a pretty big downtrend in Coinbase. The Bitcoin space and Ethereum's up almost 5% today. So a nice little move to the upside. Dell kind of in a little bit lower range than I would expect. I would expect this stock price to move up slightly, but maybe not a ton. So Etsy, I'm still slightly bullish on this from these levels, just based on my experience with trading this stock in general. We're in a position where we can see this. We're setting higher lows as we move along. This one's pretty well flat, but we're basically in a double bottom. And the question is, are we forming a head and shoulders pattern here, or are we going to break to the upside? My expectation is that on the next earnings report, which is still a ways away, we could see some pressure to the upside on some of these companies, because there's definitely at a very decent valuation to be able to purchase them. Hood trading in a range. And again, look at these trend lines. Like, that trend line is just, push the wrong thing here. That trend line, this blue line right here, just trending up, 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 up. Point of control still lower than the current price. So when we were outside of the zone, I mean, with these indicators on, I hope it's clear to you guys that when we're outside of this, that we're likely to pull back in. When we're outside again, it's likely to pull back in. And these should function as support and resistance lines. And that's where these long indicators come in, where they say, okay, well, we've actually hit the bottom of this channel, and that channel kind of compresses as we go. And we see this price action kind of coiling up. We're seeing this in quite a few stocks right now, where we're looking for an aggressive price move to one side, where there's a bunch of consolidation happening at a specific level. Meta, this is interesting. We've got a red candle today. Where are we going? I actually am long Meta right now. I think we're going to move back up to the VWAP. I think they're an aggressive company. They have lots of cash flow, and once they get their products in line, I think this next earnings report is going to be quite excellent. They did well on the earnings last time. They have an earnings miss, but it's still. So what is the surprise here showing? Surprise. So the revenue reported surprised by 1.7 billion. They made an extra 1.7 billion. It's pretty wild. So I think we're going to see move to the price move up before earnings. But again, this is just my opinion. That's what we're looking at, what we're doing. You have to do due diligence. So why is that not going away? I don't know what I've done here. I've somehow, you guys all seeing that? let me click on a button and see if we can get this to go away. I'm not sure what's going on here. That's like right in the middle of my chart. That's not good during a live stream. Okay, well, we're gonna jump around here. Which indicator is that? That indicator is, maybe that'll help. Maybe if I turn something on. I've never seen that happen either. It is an RSI Bollinger Band strategy. So if we turn that on and off. And this one is, okay, I don't know why. Right in the middle of my screen too. Okay, let's give me 1 second. I'm just gonna go to me for a second and I'm gonna just see if I can fix this. Because that's wild, isn't it? TradingView is pretty good. Okay. I don't know what's going on. I click the refresh button. I'm gonna reload the site. We're gonna see what happens here. So just give me a second here. We went back to Meta for whatever reason. And let's go, okay, it's gone. Okay, we can get back to this. Yeah, it's a Bollinger Band strategy. QDTE, we have huge dividend paid out recently. So $1.72 dividend, stock price dropped. And we'll see what happens. Are we going to continue to climb from here? I like these products. I like Roundhill. Like, I know everybody's down on like MSTY, like the Yield Max products, but there are the Roundhill products I feel are quite good. So Nvidia, is there some short selling happening? Definitely short selling is happening. They're short sellers are adding to these positions, looking for Nvidia to move down. I think one of the big factors is if we just look at the volume profile of where the trading has happened, we've just seen quite a bit of trading at this level. So again, are we going to break to the up or down? And is Nvidia's stock price warranted to be able to continue to go up? And the question, often becomes, well, they made a lot of money. The stock price is up quite a bit. So there might be some cyclical money flow out of it. Does it mean it's going to crash completely? Probably not. But could we see some softening? Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that is a par for the course in any sort of trading. So what else? We had a question about PayPal. Let's jump down to that. We have 56.57 right now, absolutely at the bottom of its range. So when we look at this, when we look at like where trading is happening, point of control, which is this white line, this is a visible range volume profile. So what these blue and yellow represent buying and selling of shares. And so we'll often see similar volume of buying and similar volume of selling at a particular price. So if we were to say at this price, when this price action was happening, it corresponds to these candles. So like this candle right here represents, buying, selling and transactions that occur right above it. Well, this horizontal indicator shows us kind of across where we're going. And so if I move over, if I do this and I only show these candles, it's going to show this visible range. And we're going to see what's happening. Now, in this particular case, I'm just going to zoom this up a little bit here. We're going to move up so we're above me. You will see that in this visible range, we have no candles down here. We have no volume here. And then it's kind of shaded. We can see this area where it's like a little bit darker color. Well, this is the area where we're basically in that single standard deviation. Now, is it exactly that calculation? No, these are based off of a metric that you can adjust within the strategy. In this particular strategy, I haven't made any adjustments to I just use the default settings. I feel like people will spend a lot of time setting these things up. When I want to use them, I just want to see what they're looking at. How would they set it up? And this is just giving me broad-based strokes. So what do I think about PayPal at these levels? Well, I think when we're trading at low levels, my thought would be that at some point somebody's going to start buying. Somebody's going to say this is a deal at this point. So let's jump into some deeper analysis that we might be able to do, and we'll see what happens if we take a look at PayPal. And so I'm just going to type in PayPal here, and this is Investing Pro you're seeing, and the fair value according to Investing Pro is $90.60. That's an upside of 60%. So, there's a quote from Warren Buffett, obviously one of the best investors of our time, who's recently stepped down from Berkshire Hathaway. Be greedy when others are fearful. So I think that this kind of falls into that particular camp where the stock price is down $56. It has a perfect Petrovsky score of 9. Management's been aggressively buying back shares, and it's trading at a low price to earnings ratio relative to near-term earnings growth. And then obviously it's a prominent player in the financial services industry. I hope everybody has recognized PayPal as a potential name. So one of the things I like to look for is the financial health, and we're seeing that it's right in the middle. So we've got the cash flow health is not that good. It's like a 3. The growth is not that good. Its relative value is okay, but it's profitable. And I think from a long-term investment standpoint, this is an excellent metric to look at. Price momentum, obviously, when we looked at that chart, is to the downside. That should be no surprise to anyone when we see that the price momentum is negative. So it's not because the company's terrible, it's just that's where the momentum is. The money hasn't been flowing into it. Well, the 1-year chart on PayPal, down 32%. So we've just been moving down. Quant rating on this, this is Seeking Alpha. Quant rating as a whole, 3.22. So they're not saying buy it, they're just saying hold this stock. Valuation is still a D. That's pretty wild. They still think it's too high. So unlike investing.com, there's these 2 paid services have opposing views. We've got one that says the fair value is much higher, and so this would in turn get a good valuation level or good valuation rating if it was on Seeking Alpha. But Seeking Alpha is saying the valuation is actually too high still. But again, they can agree that they're profitable. When profitability health is a 4 and it's an A here. The growth is a C. Well, that's the same. These are very, very similar. So we've got, if we look at each of the metrics, let's just look through each of the ones that are similar. So growth, the same. Profitability, the same, right? So we've got profitability. We're just looking at these lower ones, right? These lower boxes. And then the relative value is showing here as a 3, and it's showing as a D here for the valuation. So I would say that Seeking Alpha has a little bit more of a slightly lesser standpoint on that, and we're gonna say that they disagree on this point. These two analysis. Cash flow, do we have that? We don't have revisions. We don't really have cash flow. We've got cash flow health here, but we don't have a cash flow health, so we can't compare that metric. And then price momentum, we'll go back to this orange arrow and say, yeah, they agree. The momentum is poor and the momentum is poor. So it's interesting when you do the side-by-side analysis, even these 2 platforms work very, very similarly. They can say, they can pick out similar things. And the one that they slightly disagree on is only a slight disagreement, So I think this is one of the things that I do. So I'm using a whole bunch of different metrics when I'm placing a trade and when I'm deciding. I'm looking at what analysts are saying. I'm looking at that strength in the stock. I'm looking at the sector in general and saying, how much exposure do I have to that sector and how much exposure do I want? Then I'm looking at the chart and doing a technical analysis on it. And I'm looking at that range and that momentum and all of those things. It usually gives us a pretty good idea of where the stock is going to trade. And by adding a little bit of direction to our options trades, this is such a better trading strategy than just being neutral all the time. Being delta neutral is great, but the performance at the end of the year is often subpar. You can run the whole year delta neutral and come out at the end of the year and say, boy, I was pretty delta neutral. I was very protected and I made nothing. So what I try to do is look for opportunity and try to leverage that a little bit and say, okay, if I do give this a little bit of momentum to one side, can I make more money? Okay, Terry, I see you're here. How will the Powell issues affect the market? I think the bigger issue than the Powell issues are actually whether or not we're going to see these tariffs deemed inappropriate, or whatever the wording is that they're using from the Supreme Court. So are they gonna give their consensus? I think it's tomorrow. It was supposed to be last Friday, but again, I think this is where we're seeing that pinch point. If we go back and look at the screen on the specifically on the NASDAQ, I think it's easiest to see it on the NASDAQ. Let me get some of these arrows off the screen. When we see this consolidation happening, we're seeing this movement. It obviously a tariff, like if the Supreme Court says that the tariffs have to be paid back, that is going to be crazy. And is that a cause? Is it like are they creating a move to the downside so that people can buy in, like big corps can buy in, like BlackRock? I don't like to be like a conspiracy theorist, but definitely I start lightening my deltas considerably when we're in positions like this. So that's one of the things that I think so. Nathan said 90 would be nice. Yeah, on PayPal, wouldn't it? If you were long, 90 would be nice. A 60% gain would be fantastic. Claire's home. Oh yeah, so Terry's here. And Frank, which one do I like better? Of those two platforms? That's a really good question. I think that I have had better success. I think that investing.com is more often correct. I have been comparing stocks. You literally see how my screen is. That's how I keep it. I have whole portfolios that I like pull up, and I have like a list of 100 stocks, and I'm going through and I'm like, compare. And I do this on a fairly regular basis. So I'm at least doing that a couple times per week, looking for opportunity, looking for cash secured put entry. That's one of the primary things that I'm looking at it for, making sure that I'm getting in a good entry for a level that is unlikely to be breached, and that I can get enough premium for selling those short puts. Because a short put, as we know, or a covered call strategy, the risk is to the downside. And these platforms, both investing.com and Seeking Alpha, are both looking at long stock positions. That's their primary thing. So if I had to pick one to go with, I would I raised two fingers, but if I had to pick one, it would probably be investing.com. And that's from using them both. They're both similarly priced. I think that it depends on how much trading you're doing. If you don't have access to it, like if you're in a trading club like mine, if you're part of that community, then it's much easier for you to just ask these questions. You can just ask in the general chat. You can say, "Hey, Levi, can you do an analysis of this? I'm on to talk about stock. I'm looking for opportunity." One of the things that I dislike about other trading services that I see, and I'm not pointing out anybody in particular, but I go into like Discord chat rooms and you see people that are like, they're doing things, and there's two things that kind of irk me quite a bit. Is there's people that don't actually trade. That's like the first thing. It's like, what are you doing? Like you're talking about stocks all the time and you hold indexes. That's it. That's all you do. That's terrible in my opinion. Second thing is posting, and this bugs me, especially and shouldn't get into it. Let's try not to talk about things Levi hates. Posting trades that have already happened. How is that useful? Like when I watch S&B Capital videos, they're fantastic, but they're like cherry picking trades from months ago. And what I'm trying to do is show you guys live, and I keep my live stream. So you can go back and you can watch what I said last week about oil. We go through a very similar list every week, and you can say, "Hey, Levi said this, and this was a particular trade that we talked about." And I keep that information public and free. And that's what we're trying to do. That because I feel like as a content creator, I'm trying to give to the community, not just brag about my results. There's so many people that just are like, my results were fantastic. Well, if you look at my Discord, you guys are more than welcome. I dropped a link in there. You'll see I'm the opposite. I'm terrible at posting all my great wins because it's not important to me. I'm making money from trading. That's what I'm trying to do is make money from trading. I actually have very little time to say, "Oh, I'm going to go brag about the trades that I made." Maybe that's the wrong approach from the business perspective, but I'm a small business at this point. It's just me. So that's what I'm doing. Anyways, I do use both Seeking Alpha and investing.com. I do have links for them. If you use the links, you get a super good deal. So check out the description. I'm not going to drop them here in the comments, but you can check them out in the description of the video. They're there. What else? Why don't you guys there's 14 of you online. Drop some tickers. Just give me a few and then I'll pull up some real trades. We'll take a look at some actual trades. And because that's what I want to do, is share real information about potential trade ideas. And I can't do that without you guys helping me out, because otherwise I just have to do everything myself. And I would rather be community driven and say, hey, we're going to look at trades together. In the meantime, while you guys are doing that, I'm going to pull up PayPal and we're going to take a look at that. Just give me 1 second to get everything lined up here on my screen, and then we're going to take a look at PayPal. I know you can't see it yet, but you're busy typing in your chat window anyways to tell me what is going on and what stock you want to look at. INTC, absolutely. We're going to look at that. I can't wait. Okay, so PayPal. I've got this on the screen. We don't have a chart. We're just looking at the options chain. 56.59. We already looked at the chart. We know what's going on. It's way, way down. That level, that 90 level, is like way, way up here, right? So we've got a recent high of 79. I mean, pretty unlikely. I would think that we're going to go all the way to 90 without an earnings report. So that's, I wouldn't be looking for that type of thing. But in the short duration, can we play something? What if I wanted to get a position that could potentially make some money to the upside? Well, I'll show you one of the positions that I like. It's similar to a zebra. I recently did a video on this with John at Theta Profits and in Norway, and he was it was a really good interview. We talked about this particular trading strategy where I'm just selling a couple puts and then I'm buying some selling some longer dated calls. So I said that wrong. I'm purchasing some longer dated calls and I'm selling some shorter duration calls, and I'm doing that in a ratio. So in this case, 2 to 3. And what that does is it gives me a profit curve often. It gives me a really nice range. PayPal's at $56 right now. If I thought that PayPal was going to go up over the next little while, over the next 10 days, I might want to put on a trade like this. This has a positive delta. This trade has positive delta, 55. It has, this one in particular has negative theta. We can see that actually right here. See that the curve is below the current price. And so we've got the dotted line is today, and then this is the expiration price. What I typically want to do is get myself in a position where the theta is positive. So how do we do that? We move some stuff over here. This is not working very well at all, because the cost, the amount of theta decay that we're getting on this 56 call is not that much. There's not a huge amount of upside risk to PayPal right now. So the pretty low reward trade. I mean, look at this expiration P&L. We're looking at like making $37. The max loss on this trade is only 377. So, but probability of profit's only 11%. Now, can we be a little bit different about it? Absolutely. Here's a probability of profit right here, 47 or 48%. This has still got that positive delta. It has negative theta though, so we're down there with that theta price. So it almost makes me wonder. And again, Moo can be a little bit. Let's just flip these over. Is this possible? Could we buy the 56 call? I don't think this would work out in our favor, but this has supposedly got positive theta and a short delta, and we have a break even around 50. I don't think we could actually get this trade on. Let me see what the price is. This is showing a mid price of 660 credit, and the idea would be that if PayPal dropped below this $56 range, we would lose money on our short calls, or the short longer dated calls. This is the inverse of what I would typically be looking at. You'll see there's the unlimited profit to the upside. If PayPal was to go up, I would lose money on this because I'm doing this sell. So can I do it here? Might this be a better position where we think that PayPal is going to stay between 55 move outside of 55 to 57 range. So move outside of this $2 range. This is called a risk reversal trade. So it's an upside down calendar where we're buying or we're collecting a certain amount of money to purchase this trade. Max loss is $47. Max profit is 168. It's got a 72% probability of profit. These can be extremely lucrative. So something to consider if you think that PayPal is going to move. I know lots of people look at straddles, but these are very decent trades. They have really basically no theta decay. They're slightly delta positive at this point. And what we would want is to just put it where we thought the stock wasn't going to trade. So if you thought stock was going to go down, for $54, you can make a max profit of 168. They can be quite lucrative. So why do you want positive theta? Positive theta means that if nothing else changes, then I am getting paid for my account. So if we were to look, let's just look at a simpler strategy, and I'll just show you what would happen. If say we're a PayPal and we decided that we were going to sell a 50 put. So most people, this is probably like a beginner's trade. This is where I started. I learned to sell puts. I was like, okay, I get this. This makes total sense to me. The stock is trading at $56. That is where it currently is. I am willing to buy this stock for $50. That's what I'm going to do if the stock price goes below this. I don't think that it's going to. And if it does, I'm totally willing to buy PayPal at this level. What happens when we look at this is there's a max loss of $4,942. We have a max profit of $57. Now, a lot of people look at this trade and they're like, what a terrible trade. You're risking this huge amount of money to potentially make $57. And I look at this and I think, well, this is a very, very smart trade in general. The amount of money that I'm making relative to the amount of money that I'm putting at risk in 24 days is equal to greater than 1%. So this is like a 13% return. If the stock goes down, I'm buying at 50 strike, and I'm perfectly happy to buy this quality stock when it goes down even further. It's dropped a further 10% in value. It has an 84% probability of making this return. On an annualized basis, I'm going to make about 13%, and I can just say, yeah, this $4,942 is tied up in that account, and I'm going to make 13% this year. I have an 84% chance of this happening. Pretty awesome trade. Theta decay. Now let's get to theta, because that was the question. Why do I want it to be positive? In this case, what we're doing is we're getting paid for no change. If the theta is positive, it is showing us that the current price, where we are right now, is theoretically gaining value every single day that we hold it. We are going from a no profit when we enter it today to a potential profit of $57. If we play more aggressively, we will have higher theta decay because there's more value. So in this case, what the theta is showing us is that it's saying at expiration, this is going to be worth $57. We're going to divide that by the number of days. This one is 24 days. We're going to get some number. Let's use the calculator and get the actual number of realized theta decay if there was no change in the stock price. If the stock just stayed exactly where it is, how much money will we make? Well, we'd make $57 in total. We divide that by 24. That's the number of days. This is $2.37. So I can extrapolate this out and on an annualized basis, I can say 237. If I times this by, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. Sorry, I'm changing my mind. I'm going to just compare it to the theoretical theta. So currently the theta right now is showing it at $3.30. $3. But realize I know I can't make more than $2.37. It's impossible because that's how many days left there are. Theta is slightly dynamic. It is also slightly overstated. A good rule of thumb, if we were to look at just short selling premium, is that if we count all of the trades that are losing and we trade with relatively high delta, which this is not. This is a relatively low delta, it's a 15 delta trade. which means we have an 85% chance of making money. If we trade, we should expect to collect about 1/4 of the theoretical. That's the back of the envelope calculation. So if we were to do this, this is the kind of stuff that I hold in my head. I would say I expect to make $3.30 per day divided by 4. So that 82 cents per trade. This is a realistic expectation of selling short puts against an underlying. We can do this times 365 and we can get an expected return. That's going to be $301. This is a realistic expectation. We divide that number by the max loss, which is 49.42. And we can say that we're going to make 6%. That is the theoretical. This is one of the issues of taking too high probability trades. We take high probability, we make a low potential return. How do we increase that? Well, let me just scroll this over. What if I was to sell the at the money? Stock's trading at 56.58. What if I sold the 56? Well, now I have a much bigger potential. I have a potential of making up to $237 if nothing changes or the stock goes up. I make $237. We'll get that calculator back out there and we'll take a look at what that value is. So 237 divided by 24 days, and we're going to see $9.87. That is going to be the realized actual return. Well, in this case, the theta is actually understated. I know that that's how much money I'm going to make if this doesn't move, $9.87. The theta right now is only $5. So this means that the theta decay changes. And this is part of a theta decay curve. So both are positive, but in this one, it's actually understating. We're at a different part of the slope. When we're trading at the money options, which is what this is, we get the most theta decay when we're very close to expiration. So what does that mean? Let's just change the date. Let's go to the 10 days to expiration for this same position. Now the max profit is $79 and we're looking at theta specifically. So now we've got $79 and we're going to do that same calculation again. We're going to say, so clear this off. I'm going to say 79 divided by 10 days. So this is 7.9 and you can see that theta again is only 5. So we're overstated. We're in this position where we're overstated. Closer to at the money, the more likely that the realized return is going to be higher than the actual theta. This is because in the last couple days, if I was to change this, let's just go even closer to 3 days, it will get very, very big in the end. So in this trade, this is going to be $41 over 3 days. And we're going to pull up that calculator again, and we're going to clear this, and we're going to go 41 divided by 11. Let's see if I can use a calculator. Let's clear that off. I can't use a calculator at all. 41 divided by 11. That is an incorrect calculation anyways. It's supposed to be 3 days. What am I doing? You guys got to help me here. 41 divided by 3. So $41 divided by 3 is $13. And this theta, again, understated. So it's one of the interesting things about what we're doing. I'm not moving that put around. That's just the chart moving around. But this is where, people that sell weekly cash secured puts, they often have to sell a very aggressive delta. There's still a 70% chance of making money. I have zero problem selling these types of trades. Like, when we own stock, we only have a 50% chance of making money. Even selling in the money, like this trade right here, has max profit of 88. It has a 60% probability of profit. That is an increase over stock purchasing, which only has a 50% probability of making money. Max loss is 5,600. Max profit is 88%. The delta is 0.58. Theta is positive because it means that each day I am gaining money. If I was to just flip this, if I was to buy the put, now that theta is negative, the longer I hold this, the more money I lose. So that is why I want positive theta in my account, because it means that I am, if nothing moves, if the stock stays where it is, I'm making money on a daily basis. You're asking, Frank's asking, what is the trade exactly? I think you're probably referring to that like put diagonal or the risk reversal that I was working on. You can see the actual trades here. You can see the expiration date, the strike, the put, whether or not we're buying or selling and how many contracts there are. And I often do these as ratios, right? So in this particular case, like say you wanted to buy the 57 put and then go to the, let's just collapse this down here and go to January 23rd, then sell the 23rd. This trade is a risk reversal, and we're looking for an extreme move in PayPal. We're looking for it to move in the next 3 days outside of this range. These can be quite lucrative. Same with like a butterfly setup, like a short butterfly, where we're looking for a move to move outside. You're welcome. I hope that helps. I hope that helps, Frank. Okay, let's look at APLD and INTC, both of those. So first thing I'm going to do is we're going to look at let's just look at Seeking Alpha. We're going to look at Intel, INTC, and we're going to see fair value $32, straight where my eye goes, and then financial health is 2. So we see that we're up 9% today, which is a huge move. $48, but the fair value is still 31% below current value. So this is why when we look at the market in general, we're going to find a lot of stocks like this. When we look at this, we'll say this is maybe not a good time to buy. Now here, this is where we see some disagreements. So I'm going to mark these. Okay, how am I going to do this? I did it before in blue. I'm going to mark the ones in orange that disagree. So when we look, so valuation is a B, valuation is a 2. Those don't agree. Profitability health, investing.com says it's bad and the profitability is good here. So that does disagree. Growth, they agree. So we're going to change that to blue. So we've got one in agreement and one without. Cash flow health, we don't have that on Seeking Alpha, and then momentum is an A, and so those ones we're going to take those as blue and say okay, they agree on 2 out of 4. But the biggest things that I'm looking for is the valuation good and are they profitable? So obviously if we had purchased yesterday there would have been a better price, but that, we don't have time machines, so we can only look at what's going on. Next earning is January 22nd, which is coming up. This usually is an indicator for me that I don't want to trade options so much on these particular things. So let's go. I love my setup on investing, on TradingView. So I'm just gonna type in INTC here, and we'll get that loaded up, and we'll take a look. Oh, why it's there we go. Let's see what you guys can see here. We'll get INTC, which is underneath me. And when I look at a chart like this, and this is going back to, again, where I talked about this earlier in the stream, just in general, when I look at these parameters, does this look like the type of stock I want to buy? It doesn't mean that it can't go up and up and up. It for sure can. I mean, this stock could continue to go up, but point of control is like $37, and VWAP is here below $30. That's this line. So when I start to see these types of things, I from a charting perspective, I would trade where the bulk of my money is here, the bulk of my gains. And I might set something up where I start to lose money if it drops below $30, because there's a really good chance that this could continue because the trend is going that way, but there's a good chance that it could pull back as well. So that's how I kind of set up my trades. I have like the bulk trade down here and then maybe no risk to the upside, or I may have some risk to the upside, but I'll pick where it is and say, you know what, I don't think the stock's going to go above $60 or $55. So then I can go to this chart and I can to my brokerage. This is Moo, and I can just say, hey, well, what can I do? Look at this. It's got this is showing us. Moo is so cool. Like, again, I have a link down below. If you use my link, you get a discount. You get like bonus things to sign up, including some cash. I think right now it's wild. If you fund an account, they actually give you cash into your account. and then they give you like commission freeze. But that's only if you use links from people like myself who are affiliated with Moomoo. So whenever you're signing up for anything like that, make sure you use those links. It's important for you and for me. It's like we have an agreement. I'm supposed to drive a certain amount of traffic, and you guys want to get a good deal, but with no cost to you. So it works for everybody. But like, this is the type of thing that this indicator, we looked at this and this indicator was on here. It actually showed us that this was potentially going to happen, that we're going to see an upside breakout on Intel. So that already happened. This is an automatic thing that happens. You just pull up a chart and it's like, what is that big W? And it's like recognizing a chart pattern and it's showing you where that potential move is. Pretty cool. Really very, very, very cool tech. Like, man, the company is doing some wild things, and I love that kind of thing. But that doesn't mean it's going to necessarily stay up here. That move happened. So how might I play this? Well, again, that risk of reversal might be something that we could play. The other thing we could look at, it's a little bit hard to see in here, but we were seeing January 22nd move. So let's go and look at like a long butterfly. Simplest way to set that up is, what if we were to just buy, let's just do it as a put butterfly. So we have $3 wide, 48, and then 51. And what I'm going to do is I'm looking for something that may move and say, so we've got two ways to do this. We can either say it's going to stay in the range. In this case, I think it's going to stay between 45 and 50, and I could make up to $210 while risking $63. These are excellent types of earnings plays. This is what we would call a short volatility play. This benefits from volatility crush, and you can see that the profit tent is situated in a way that we make money if it stays in a range. Now, if we just flip these, we just literally buy or sell the opposite contracts. Well, now we have the opposite trade. We have a max loss of $236. We have a max profit of 36 bucks. And we've got this 45 and 50. The break-evens are the same, relatively similar on both sides. So let's go back to the chart and see if we can put on some lines on here. What if we draw on here a little trend line that says 45, right? Well, that was one of the levels we were looking at. So $45. And how do we do this on? I think it is not that one. Trying to find the hotkey that was the right hotkey, but that was not it. All these ones are slightly different. Is it control? Is it? Can't remember in Moomoo. Horizontal line. Let's just do the old fashioned way. Thanks for bearing with me. So we got $45, that's one line. And then I'm gonna scroll down here and then we're gonna put on that 50 line. So this is where we are looking at it and saying, okay, well, what do we think? Do we think that stock is gonna trade inside those lines or outside those lines? Well, to me, I look at that and I think, well, probably not going to. It's barely been in that line for a minute. Even though it is $5 wide, that seems like a pretty wide range. So with this type of trade, what I would be more inclined to take is I might be more inclined to take a trade like this, which is a short butterfly, and saying, where are we? We're going to move to the outside. We're going to potentially move to the outside. The thing I like about these is the max risk is actually, it's really, really hard to get max risk. You know, 250 bucks, like, is if it's right at $48. Well, what if it's at $49? You know, we just, or sorry, 49, let's go above. Say it's at $49 at expiration. Well, then the trade only loses 144. So it doesn't even have to move, you know, it does have to move quite a ways to become profitable. But to become a smaller loss, it actually doesn't have to move very far at all. Like even if it was 50 bucks, you're at like a 1-to-1 ratio. So something to consider. The other thing you can do is you can sell these a little bit tighter, or you can sell them. This is where I was talking about being directional. You can say, oh, I think that the stock is going to go up, but I want to take limited risk on here. Well, this stock only risks $82. Has the potential of making $64, which is like a 1-to-1. And if the stock price goes down, it only loses 36 bucks. So you can be creative about how you build these. And this is why I love like a platform like Moomoo. I can say, oh, I think that the stock's going to go up. Okay, well then just do this little trade over here. I can just move this right over until I'm right at where the break even is. So if it doesn't go any lower, I don't lose any money. If it does go lower, I'm risking 90 bucks or I'm risking $43, but I have the potential of making 50 bucks. That's an extremely good return. Now, these are binary events. When we do these types of things, it has to be near expiration. So in 10 days, where is it trading? It's relatively flat right now. We can see that T0 line is flat. But near expiration, if it was like the day before, if we're trading down and we're trading right above this trough, I would exit the trade. But they are limited loss. You can trade them right to the end. So relatively simple setups. I mean, that's just three. It's like a little butterfly. That's all it is. And we can just add, it's so fun to adjust these, you know, you just play with exactly what you want. You know, we can build this, can sell here, you know, you want the risk to reward to be appropriate. That's the biggest thing. So in this case, risking up to $150 to make $45 or risking $55 if it was to really sell off. So they can work out very, very well, if that makes sense. Okay, what other stocks do you guys want to look at? APLD, let's take a look at APLD. Applied Digital. Okay, looking at that chart, we see, so I'm going to look at a couple gaps here. So we see earnings and we see a gap, right? These are relatively clean charts here. This earning, we saw a gap. So 2 earnings in a row, we saw a move to the upside after earnings. This earnings, saw a move to the upside. Boy, do we see a trend here. When is this next earnings? Obviously not for a while because this one just happened January 7th. So January 7th earnings occurred and we're seeing an upside. Let's just take a look at what happened over the course of time. So after earnings, we saw a move to the upside and then we saw a retracement. So this is that pretty kind of similar setup. And then in this one, I'm gonna mark the retracement first. I'm gonna show that, and we're gonna show the buildup in blue. So we looked at those. So here we are. There's the what's going on? Uh-oh, losing my mouse. Got to switch to my trackpad, which is harder to draw these arrows. Or not. Wow, am I frozen completely? Okay, having a slight issue. Hopefully, okay, I'm gonna try to talk through this because that is not good. We're at 12:04. I think that's my computer saying, "Hey, you're at time," but I'm completely frozen. Okay, well, I'm back. No, it's not happy. I'm in a RAM issue. Okay. Sorry, I can't do that analysis. Frank, you're in my group anyways, are you not? So if you're not, let's continue this conversation over on Discord. I'll get my thing sorted out. You can jump over to the community. We'll talk about it in the free chat. If you're a member, we'll talk about it in the members chat. And again, because I'm trying to give back to you guys. So if you didn't see it before, I posted the link to the Discord. You guys can join, say hello. And if you could do me a huge favor, share one of my videos on social media. It would be great. Just whatever the one that you love the most. I hope you learned something today. You know, what we're trying to do here is get rich together. We're trying to share knowledge and talk about potential setups. So thank you so much. Take care, everybody. We'll see you next week. And I'll see my members on Thursday for the private live stream. Take care. Bye.